The science of Kratom. Separating facts from myths. Right now, Kratom is everywhere in health conversations across the United States. Some people say it's a natural pain reliever that changed their life. Others say it's risky, addictive, and poorly understood. So what's actually true, and what's just hype? In this video, you're going to see what science really says about Kratom, the facts, the myths, and the important safety concerns most people don't talk about. Kratom is a plant that grows naturally in parts of Southeast Asia. For generations, people there have used its leaves in different ways, sometimes for energy, sometimes for pain relief, and sometimes to help with fatigue during long working hours. Today, especially in the United States, it's often sold as powders, capsules, or teas, and marketed as a natural alternative for pain, anxiety, or even opioid withdrawal support. But here's the problem: the science is still catching up to the popularity, and that's where the confusion begins. Magnifying glass myth versus fact breakdown. Myth number 1. Kratom is completely safe because it's natural. The fact is, natural doesn't always mean safe. Kratom contains active compounds like mitragynine and 7-hydroxymitragynine that act on opioid receptors in the brain. In early research and lab studies, these compounds show pain-relieving and calming effects. But in observational studies involving regular users, sometimes hundreds of participants, researchers have also reported side effects like nausea, dizziness, and signs of dependence in some individuals. So the takeaway is simple: just because something is natural doesn't mean it's harmless. Myth number 2. Kratom is just like opioids, such as morphine or heroin. The fact is, Kratom is not the same as traditional opioids. Yes, it interacts with opioid receptors in the brain, but it doesn't behave exactly like drugs such as morphine or heroin. Some early lab research suggests it may activate these receptors differently, which could explain why users report both stimulant-like and sedative-like effects depending on the dose. But human studies are still limited. So the takeaway is this: Kratom is not identical to opioids, but it is not completely unrelated either. Myth number 3. Kratom is an approved treatment for opioid addiction. The fact is, it is not approved as a medical treatment for addiction. Some surveys of users, including studies with hundreds to a few thousand participants, show that people report using Kratom to manage withdrawal or reduce opioid use. Many of them say it helps them personally. But here's the key point: there are currently no large, high-quality clinical trials confirming it as a safe or effective treatment. So the takeaway is, it may be used by some people for this purpose, but it is not medically approved. Myth number 4. Kratom has no risk of dependence or withdrawal. The fact is, some users do report withdrawal-like symptoms. In observational studies, people who use Kratom regularly have described symptoms such as irritability, fatigue, cravings, and mood changes when they stop. These effects are often reported as milder than classic opioid withdrawal, but they are still real for some individuals. So the takeaway is, repeated use may lead to dependence-like effects in certain users. Myth number 5. All Kratom products are consistent and well-regulated. The fact is, product quality can vary widely. In many regions, Kratom is not tightly regulated, which means strength, purity, and even contamination levels can differ between products. Some lab analyses of commercial samples have found inconsistent alkaloid levels and, in some cases, contamination concerns. So the takeaway is, not all Kratom products are the same, and that adds another layer of risk. Myth number 6. Science fully understands Kratom. The fact is, we don't. Most of what we know comes from animal studies, small human studies, or surveys of users. There are still no large-scale, long-term clinical trials that fully explain its effects on the brain, heart, liver, and mental health over time. So the takeaway is, we have early evidence, but not complete answers. Warning, safety, and regulatory note. In the United States, Kratom exists in a legal gray area. It is not approved by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for any medical use, and regulatory agencies have issued warnings about potential risks, especially related to dependence, liver effects, and product contamination. Some states allow it. Others have restricted or banned it completely. Health experts generally advise extra caution or complete avoidance for certain groups, including pregnant or breastfeeding individuals, people with liver or heart conditions, and those taking medications that affect the brain or liver. And mixing Kratom with alcohol or other sedating substances may increase risks. So when you step back and look at the full picture, Kratom is not a miracle cure, but it's also not a simple villain. It's a biologically active plant with real effects on the brain and body, and those effects can vary depending on the person, the dose, and the product. The biggest takeaway is this: the science is still developing, and certainty is still limited. So instead of strong opinions on either side, what we really need is better research. And as always, this video is for educational purposes only, not medical advice. If you're considering Kratom or already using it, it's important to speak with a qualified healthcare provider who understands your health history. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more clear, evidence-based health breakdowns explained in a simple way anyone can understand. See you in the next one.